All right. Hi, we're live. Welcome in, everybody. This is the Slate. It is a Monday, Halloween Monday. Everyone likes Halloween, I think. Some do, some don't. But see, Halloween starts at like 5, and that hurts our time because people tend to go out. So if you chose to stay home, good on you. It's a little overrated. So we can get some information on Week 8 Monday Night Football. Bengals and Browns, AFC North matchup to wrap up the week. And we'll get showdown, breakdown, betting analysis. Jeff Ulrich is here. Brendan Glasheen. We'll look ahead to Week 9, which begins on Thursday. Those Eagles are in action, taking on the Texans. There's a possibility now the Texans and Eagles will be playing the same night as their fellow baseball teams because the weather in Philadelphia tonight is not great for the World Series. That'd be kind of interesting to have Philly. Well, this game's in Houston, but anyway. Jeff, what's going on, man? What's your takeaway here from the Sunday slate and heading into Monday night?
Yeah, I mean, Sunday slate, I don't know. I mean, like not too much was, I think we just got a lot of confirmation, got some confirmation on the Eagles just being, the Eagles just keep doing what they're supposed to do, which is just winning games and blowing out a team like the Steelers. I mean, who were, they got a lucky win over the Tampa. The game against Miami was closer than it should have been, really. And they just, came and dusted a Steelers team that was just overrated. The Bills dusted a Green Bay team that doesn't have any offense. Not shocking there. I mean, we had some interesting games like the Commanders and Colts, but I mean, like those two teams, I mean, week to week, good luck knowing what they're going to do. Same with like Carolina and Atlanta. Atlanta's like a nice, scrappy team, but I mean, like, they're just benefiting from weak division. I think the one that I admit, like, I mean, I'm touting my own horn here, but like the Seahawks to me were the better team than the Giants. And I'm not shocked that game ended up the way it did. The Giants were just, they were good at getting themselves into these like late fourth quarter situations where the game was close and then they'd catch a break somehow and the breaks just ran out. And, running the ball when you're down by 7 and like taking the slow approach, it wasn't going to work out especially when you got a good quarterback on the other side, like Geno Smith, who's very good right now. Like I would be betting him comeback player of the year. I don't even care what the odds are. So just a lot of confirmation. I think the most shocking one was the Raiders just crumbling. It's not overly shocking to me because I've always thought that the Saints were going to be good. A pretty solid team this year. It's just their defense has struggled. But if their defense gets back together, we know the Saints can move the ball on offense. So that was probably, I think for a lot of people too, one of the most shocking things. What are the comeback player odds now? What's Geno down to?
Plus 225. Saquon's the favorite.
He was plus 600 the game before. I'm kicking myself for not getting on it, but I'll be honest, like quarterback versus running back here, I think the Seahawks have a better chance of winning that division. I don't think the Giants are going to win their division. If the Seahawks win that division, I think Geno gets it 100%. So I would still say there's some juice there, man. You also have to dodge a Saquon injury and running back.
I was just going to say, you hate to speculate that stuff, but in his case, their record's so good, they can manage him, which would hurt his case to maybe win the award stat-wise.
They can't afford to manage Saquon because they don't have anyone else.
I know, that's true. That's true. No, well, I mean more so if they keep winning, they could be like, all right.
Yeah, maybe the rest them a little at the end or something, but yeah. If you watch the Giants play, you know that like Brian Dable has no intention of resting Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, that's true.
He's running him all the time. So, I mean, Saquon could still win, but like, I think that I think those should be closer to even. I really do with the way those two teams are going. So,
yeah. And it's not crazy, folks. Again, like I know the Eagles are having a great season, but Dallas and New York are only one win back of this team. And one of them is a divisional win away from beating them to be still in it. Yeah. They could still win their division. So
I think the Cowboys are starting to prove themselves a legit team. Yes, they got beat by the Eagles. I still think the Eagles are better overall. But the offense with Dak is going to be better too. Dak looks healthy. That defense, man, is just as good as Philly's. Like they're first in sacks per game, yards per attempt. They limit the pass. There's not much between those two teams. There's not as much. I definitely think the Eagles on offense as a whole harder to stop, but like when those two teams meet again, it's going to be close and it's going to be really interesting. I think Dallas is definitely a contender in the NFC right now. Absolutely.
I think folks that made the take also, yeah, let Cooper Rush start these 2 games and let Dak come back. Come on. Great little confidence booster games. Get out there against some soft competition. Run your stuff. Zeke had to sit down, but Pollard is fully capable. But the drop off between Rush and Prescott was pretty evident.
And like beating up on the Lions is one thing, but like, the Bears have actually been okay. Like they've been okay at limiting teams. I mean, they're not a great team. I'm not suggesting it's like, let's crown Dallas Super Bowl, but like running up on the Bears, the Patriots couldn't do it. I mean, like there's the Bears have given teams struggles. They probably should have beat the Vikings as well. So, to just handle them that easily. I know they gave Fields some rushing yards, but it was still a really good performance by Dallas.
Okay, this game tonight, how do you assess the Bengals? Joe Burrow's never beaten this team. Joe Burrow's never beat the Browns. That's a weird stat. Like you say it out loud a few times and you think, wow, that's staggering. But the Bengals have covered 5 straight games. They're 3-point favorites now. The line has moved a half point. It's going in the Browns in the Browns direction now. Now that just +3. Despite still most of the money is coming in on Cincinnati, so that's an interesting line move. But the Bengals have covered 13 of their last 15 regular season games, including 5 straight. I still can't get over this stat. They have yet to allow a second half touchdown this year. That is wild. This defense does not have name recognition like other star teams do, like the Buffaloes. And I know the Rams aren't having a good year, but they've paid a lot of guys in that defense. San Francisco, Dallas has a couple of high profile names. Philly, this defense is legit. How do you look at this game tonight?
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals do have a couple of like interior line, like just injuries, a little bit banged up, but you're right. I mean, like they've been good. I mean, they've been really solid. They've been a good second half team in terms of the game. Yeah. And like this feels like a little bit like the situation last night. And, if you're like me and you said, just take the Green Bay points, I know that Green Bay is not a good team, but it's too many points. Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers. You got there. I mean, we all did it. We got there. 11 points was too much. 10.5 was too much. We got the cover. It feels like a similar spot. It's a division game since he's on the road, but I don't like this for Cleveland. I think that the Bengals are the better team. And I think there's a good chance they cover here by potentially even 2 scores. And I think there's a couple routes they can do it. So even it's moved down to 3. I actually really like it at 3. At 3.5, it's a little bit more of a, the key number and stuff for sure. But I would still side with the Bengals. And I get it. It's public bet. I try to avoid these games, or I take the other side most often, but I'm just jumping in here. No Denzel Ward still for the Browns. The Jamar Chase, I think the Jamar Chase thing is also keeping this number down. Like, I think this could even be 4.5 or something if Chase was playing. So, and like, I think Tyler Boyd's going to do just fine in this game, replicating Jamar Chase a little bit. He's not going to replicate him completely, but he's a very good player, and still got T. Higgins to worry about with no Ward. I think with the way Joe Burrow is playing, you've got to take the 3. At 3, I think the Bengals are a very easy target. 3.5, you said, God, I'm just going to lay off or make this a no bet. I guess that's fine, but I got enough belief here. I really like the way the Bengals have looked. They're a really well-coached team. You got no Njoku on the other side for the Browns. You've got some tough corners for the Cleveland wide receivers. You're basically asking Brissett and Chubb to kind of like do it all here. And I don't know if the Bengals, maybe Chubb does run up the score a bit, but like, I kind of trust Joe Burrow gets back. So I'm going to ride with the Bengals here. I think it's a good bet.
I thought there was a chance we'd get some 4s just because of the money coming in, but I guess book.
I think the Chase news is kind of scaring people. I mean, I don't know. It's a lot of money is coming in, but obviously there's probably some sharp money that, like I said, probably once it got to 3.5 said, it's a division game. Mm-hmm. It's on the road for the Bengals. All the money's on the other side. It always happens. And it happened in the Green Bay game, and those people were right. And, I was right because I said to do that as well. But this one, I'm not doing it. I'm not betting against Joe Burrow when he's playing this well. That's basically what it comes down to.
Okay, very good. Browns are getting 41% of the bets, 54% of the money. Bengals, are getting...
Okay, I mean, that's actually more than I thought it was. Last time I looked, it was like all Bengals. So maybe some late money coming in on the Browns, and that would make sense because the line's moved from 3.5 to 3. So again, that sharp money probably coming down at 3.5 on the Browns.
Yeah. So more of the actual total of bets coming in on Cincy, but the money, more of the money on Cleveland. How about props? What do you like tonight? And we'll get to DFS as well for the showdown contest.
Yeah. I like targeting Tyler Boyd here. I think you can still get him up 4, or is he 5.5 here? No, he's 4.5. The juice is way up. So I don't know if I bet him at -155, but I do like Boyd tonight. I might actually, you know what? I'd even just go to his receiving total, which is still at 60.5, rather than going over on 4.5. That reception prop really moved. And I think it was for a reason. I had Boyd projected for over. I think Boyd gets 8 or 9 targets again. There's just no way about it. I mean, like he's not Jamar Chase, but he's a very versatile receiver. He's an oversized slot receiver. He's going to get moved around. He's going to get targets. So even at -155, I gotta say, like, I think without an injury here, Boyd is a pretty good bet. He's a very efficient receiver too. He's very good at converting targets into receptions, getting himself open. Just converting those, and he's got an accurate quarterback in Joe Burrow. So feel pretty good about that. But if you want to go, take the less juice, go on the receiving yards, I think that's fine.
Remember our buddy Mike Thomas? I remember this guy. He played in.
Oh yeah, he's dominated Madden.
Yes, the COVID season especially. I think he got some reps and he got some time.
First edition. Yeah. Mike Thomas would always pop up.
We're getting this now, like in every prime time game now. It's been tight ends lately on Thursday night.
Yeah.
But we end up getting this pass catching guy, a tight end or a receiver that's in a good spot because a big name on the other side is out. I don't know if we love -130 in terms of the odds on the over on the yards, but Thomas is going to get some snaps tonight.
Yeah, and again, like his prop is interesting too. I mean, Mike Thomas at 1.5 receptions, like I would have been able to eat a little bit of juice. I don't know if I want to take 3 at +120. It's kind of tight. I'd probably rather go over on the yards there as well. I don't know. I feel better about just going with Boyd. I think Boyd is just going to get a lot of work. I think Mike Thomas will probably be using the red zone. I think he probably catches, like, again, if you can find a 1.5 out there, I'd go over on that. Otherwise, I may lay off. The other receiving prop that's interesting though is Joe Mixon. 3.5 receptions, a little big, but like the receiving yards at 23.5. I think that's a little low. So that would probably be a slight over for me. Actually, a little bit interested in taking Joe Mixon's under here as well. It's not like a huge lean, but I wouldn't be going over necessarily. Myles Garrett, road game. If Nick Chubb does get going early, I think Mixon is going to have a hard time hitting that. So Mixon would be like the one under for me in terms of like guys I'd be targeting his rush yards again. Chubb is, I would lean over on Chubb's number, but it's kind of just a no play. That's kind of where I'm leaning. I mean, Boyd is really just the target for me. It's kind of just how you want to play it. I think you could even look, I don't know if we're getting any alt lines on Tyler Boyd, maybe to like go for like 100 yards again. But actually, you know where we should look quickly is the player props, the player parlays, excuse me. See if we got any Tyler Boyd action there.
There it is. Sorry.
Higgins.
There's Boyd. 125 and a touchdown.
I mean, he hit it last game. It's a pretty big ask. I wish those were like plus 1,500. Yeah, that's our only. Oh no, we got. What this? I think you could do Tyler Boyd 100+ receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. That's a lot for 2 touchdowns.
Right here. Oof. Yeah. See, you want this number for just 1 touchdown.
I think I'd probably lean the 125 and touchdown. I mean, again, like we have seen, I know Tyler Boyd isn't Jamar Chase, but we saw what he was capable of in the last game. I think I'd probably feel okay with that. I wish the number was a little bit bigger, but again, you don't have to bet this either. This is just, if you're looking for a big Tyler Boyd prop, you're looking for like an alternate line. That's kind of interesting. I just thought I'd point it out. Probably really rather have like 100 yards and 1 touchdown, but 125 and 1 touchdown is what we get. I just think Boyd is going to have a good night. I just want some exposure to his upside.
So what's the game script though for Cleveland? Like if you have to play it out, and you might want to look to, and we can transition to DFS now too, but just thinking player prop wise too, what angle would you take on Cleveland to hang around and then Cincinnati gets a cover? I mean, you did say there's a chance. You think there's a chance that the Bengals win this game by 2 scores. Never mind the 3 points and covering the 3.
Yeah, no. And in that scenario, I mean, I think you're probably looking at like a Jacoby Brissett kind of meltdown where he probably throws a pick late or something like that. So you could look to Jacoby Brissett's player props there, potentially for an interception.
That's not bad. -115 to throw.
It's really not. And the reason why it's only -115, he just doesn't throw that much, right? But again, like he's projected as the underdog. He's probably going to be in a couple scenarios late in the game, throwing the ball a lot. I mean, look, I think that when you're looking at how Cleveland's going to go, I mean, they're going to try and really dominate this with Nick Chubb off the hop. If that doesn't work, then Brissett is going to have to drop back more. And that's going to lead to, potential INTs. So I don't mind the intercept. I actually don't mind the interception prop on both these players. I'd almost say that the Burrow interception prop is probably better value. +125. He's probably got a better chance of dropping back more. But I like the way Burrow's playing lately. So I'd probably rather look for the Brissett kind of mistake there. I honestly, I think you could bet both quarterback interception props here. I don't think that would be a horrible idea. I think there's a good chance you get hit on both.
Curious to see how the Browns, if they do or they do not protect some of their players here, because if this doesn't go well, they could be active tomorrow with the trade deadline. If they end up being 2-6, if they lose the game.
And if we haven't got any confirmation on Kareem Hunt. I mean, obviously he's on the block. He's probably going to get traded, it sounds like, but he
ain't going to play much, man. And under on Kareem Hunt makes a ton of sense tonight too.
That's kind of where I was going to go. I mean, you've just got to kind of read the room. Like, I mean, it's always tough to predict these things. And I think that the one thing about Hunt is we're still getting like props that aren't that small. I mean, 34.5. I mean, he's got to get, 5 or 6 carries at least to get over this. Obviously he could do it on like a couple rushes if he got lucky, but an under on Kareem Hunt here seems absolutely fine with just with where we're at. And I'd even look, actually, does he have a rush receiving yards? Yeah, I would go to his rush receiving yards and take an under on that. He'll probably still play, but does he get limited a little bit? Maybe. I mean, maybe the other route you could go is just take the Nick Chubb overs, and because Nick Chubb will be the one who benefits from this if Hunt doesn't play as much. There's a couple ways you could look at it. I see these Kareem Hunt props; they're not really any different. If you think he's not going to play much, the under makes sense. But even just going over on Nick Chubb gets you exposure to that same thing, and so.
I would just keep in mind, I mean, not you, the general you, if the Browns win this game, they're 2-1 in the division. Like they're sort of still in it. All their games, most of their games have been against teams out of the division. Panthers, Jets, Falcons, Chargers, Patriots. They lost to the Ravens last week only by 3, and they beat the Steelers in week 3. Granted, that was Mitchell Trubisky at the time at quarterback. So.
I mean, the Browns could easily be 4-3, like so easily. Yep. It's pretty crazy. They could probably even be 5-2 if we wanted to get into it. But
their schedule though coming up here is pretty challenging.
It gets bad, and I mean tonight is bad. I mean, this is a tough matchup, right? Just with the way the Bengals have looked. So
if they had got Cincinnati early in the year, maybe they would have benefited, just like teams that played the Bengals early in the year. Dallas with Rush. Miami almost gave him a shot. That was the Miami game Thursday night, was when Cincinnati sort of began their turnaround to their season. So it's a good point. Timing is everything with this schedule. And the Bengals, outside of Kansas City and Buffalo, Cincinnati might be the one team that could give those two teams some trouble. How do we want to build the showdown tonight?
Yeah, no. So for showdown, I mean, I mentioned Tyler Boyd. I still like that play as a captain potential. Like, again, you just, even just going to the last game, this is just a very efficient receiver. I mean, 14 of his last 15 targets converted into catches, the yards per attempt, even just if you look at Tyler Boyd as a whole this year compared to last year, like his yards per reception, like downfield targeting is up. he was really kind of just used in like the short pass game last year. Like he was very limited. They've kind of expanded his route tree, which is good because he's a player with a lot of potential. So I think he's very viable as a captain. I do. I think people could be sleeping on him a little bit just in terms of what his actual upside is. But on the flip side of that, we have, I think there's, you can always go with Joe Burrow. He's live for a rushing touchdown. He's playing great, threw for like 500 yards last time out. But there is two main carry running backs here too, in Nick Chubb and Joe Mixon. So for me, if you're going off Burrow, it's either Boyd or Mixon, and Mixon is definitely like the safer play, just because he's a main carry running back. The targets are there. He's going to get the red zone work. There's nothing to worry about here. So if you're playing for like a Bengals stack, I mean, I think there's 3 viable options. It's actually there's 4 because it's Higgins. There's a lot of different ways you can go. Boyd is like the low owned play. Not many people are going to use them. It's going to be different. Higgins is probably my least favorite just because I feel like the Browns are going to be very trying just to limit him. And then it's either Mixon or Burrow as like the safer option. So that's kind of how I'm viewing it. I would probably prefer Mixon over Burrow slightly because of the price difference. And then the other side, it's kind of just Nick Chubb or nothing. I mean, I think the Browns are completely going to go all in on Nick Chubb here, really trying. I mean, what other option do they have? Njoku's out. Harrison Bryant's in. That could help a little bit, but Cooper has been shut down a little bit now after a hot start. I think this is a tough matchup for him anyways. It's kind of just Nick Chubb if you're playing for the Browns side. And, like Nick Chubb is viable regardless of game flow. The Browns are going to run the ball ahead or behind. They're going to get him involved. We already mentioned the Kareem Hunt stuff. Who knows if they decide to limit him a little bit, maybe bring in like their third back. Is Ernest Johnson still on this team? I think so. I mean, like I'm serious. So like we could see him, right? So I can't even remember. I don't think he is.
Let's see how they have it listed here. Chubb, Hunt, Dearness Johnson.
He is still the number 3 here. So for some reason I thought he did say he resigned. Yeah. So we haven't heard him because it's been like right. Hunt and Chubb have both been healthy. So I mean, look, he's Ernest Johnson has put in 100-yard games when he's been getting work. I wouldn't be shocked if he popped up tonight. It's actually kind of an interesting play when you think about it. Got to make sure he's active and stuff, but if he is, there's worse dart throws that we've talked about on the show. So yeah, but for me, like captain spot, Cleveland, it's kind of Chubb or nothing.
Yeah, I like this play or like this potential use of Dearness Johnson. Guess we're not totally saying to play him, but if someone gets stupid on Kareem Hunt, I mean, they could very well give him a run.
I mean, is there anyone else viable down there as like the min? I don't know if there necessarily is. So, Dearness Johnson, 200, Anthony Schwartz, I guess, he did see 3 targets last week. He's kind of like a boomer bust guy. Like he'll probably either catch a 40-yard pass or do nothing. So Schwartz is kind of interesting as well. And then but then after that, you really have to get up to Mike Thomas. Mike Thomas is going to be on everyone's lineup, I assume. He gives you access to Joe Burrow as a captain. He gives you access to whoever you want as a captain. And he fits well with the Joe Burrow captain. So I think if you want to be different, you could go Joe Burrow without Mike Thomas, or you could go, just basically, just not go Joe Burrow as your captain. Because I think a lot of people will be starting Joe Burrow captain, Mike Thomas in my flex to get my salary back up. So,
okay, good call there. Well, we'll see. But it's a good thought. It's something to keep in mind for tonight if you want to load up on Bengals with Burrow and the pass catchers as well as Nick Chubb. Not a bad way to complement Chubb in the Cleveland side with that running back. All right, cool. Let's look at the rest of the week. Week 9 starting up Thursday. You've already delivered some thoughts on the Eagles being legit. The schedule does not get any harder for them. It just doesn't. They're playing the Texans on Thursday. They're laying 13 points on the road. The Texans are pretty bad. Like they couldn't handle the Titans with a backup quarterback. And then Malik Willis, first round pick. I mean, he's second round pick or first round pick. End of the first round, I think. Malik Willis, if I remember correctly. Anyway.
No, it was second round, wasn't
He
it?
was second. Okay. Kenny
Yeah.
Pickett was the only quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
No, I know it's the quarterbacks was so weird because we at one time it was like, oh yeah, we got 3 guys going in the first, and then it was just Pickett and no one.
Right.
So.
Either way, Titans, I guess, have some hope in this kid, and Derrick Henry ran all over them. And the Eagles, not only do they have a viable running back in Miles Sanders, but their quarterback can also run. So how in the world are they going to stop these 2 guys on the ground? That's my question. On a short week?
Yeah, I mean, they're not. That's the So yeah, I mean, like Eagles, Texans, I mean, it's a road game. It's a big spread to cover on. I mean, that's the worry, right? Like,
yeah,
short time to prepare. Does Houston kind of jump out, get a fluky lead? You know, Brandon Cooks is still a thing. You know, Dameon Pierce maybe just catches them off guard. We kind of saw that like with the Eagles when they played the Cardinals a few weeks ago, like before their bye. This one, yeah, I mean, I don't really know where I'm going to be going for this game, to be honest. Probably might even just plug my nose and take the Texans with the points, if I'm being dead honest. But I won't really like it. But again, like it's Thursday night football, lower scoring game. Eagles probably just trying to get a lead, get a win, and get out of there. So I'm right now leaning towards the points with the Texans, even though I hate it. It just, but there's to me, like, there's just too much parity. I mean, Eagles definitely deserve to be a top 2 team, but I don't even know what that means anymore in the NFL. You know, like it's just so there, you know, the good teams aren't as good and the bad teams are just terrible, but it just seems like any week, like a good team can turn into a bad team pretty quickly. So I don't think the Eagles are going to turn bad. I just think that, you know, this could just be an uglier win for them.
Nope, you're right. You're consistent on this. You're playing the number. You could easily see the public being heavy on Philadelphia because they'll ask the same questions. How in the world are the Texans going to stop them? But also, like, how are the Texans going to keep up with the Eagles? If A.J. Brown is going to keep playing the way he's playing. You also get Devontae Smith in a nice warm weather climate like Houston, a potential dome game because he doesn't look all that good in Philadelphia, for being honest. In Philly, the games they play in Philly because of the cold. But, you know, the other thing, too, with the Eagles, you're right. At this point, we're in real conversations now, folks, at least I think, about this team running the table because this schedule is really, really smelly. It's not all that good. This could be a look ahead spot. You've got Washington on Monday night at home in a couple weeks. I don't know. Like you're caught up in the World Series going on. I don't know. Like I could see the Eagles like reading their press clippings and being like you just said, even if they look good, just get in there, get in, get out, and stay healthy. That could also be the bare minimum.
Yeah, and like I mean, give the Texans a little bit of credit. Like I mean, they've been feisty in spots, right? Like, you know, they almost beat the Chargers. You know, so it's their quarterback Davis Mills is competent. They've got Brandon Cooks still on the outside. Dameon Pierce is kind of a playmaker, obviously. It's just can their defense hold up at least for like half the game? That's going to be the big question. But I think you make good points. Like this just feels like a very big look ahead spot for Philly, where there's a lot going on all of a sudden. They're legitimately like a top 2 team. People are starting to crown them a bit, and like, you know, everyone's hyped in the city. So it's prime time. I think Jalen Hurts being the quarterback that he is, they're going to be fine. I'm not going to predict. I'm not going to say bet the Texans money line, but I don't want to take him to cover 2 touchdowns here.
Yeah. What else jumps out to you for this week? I'm just seeing now, like, I don't know. I mean, the Lions have another home game. The over's been very good in Detroit this year, 4-0 to the over in Detroit. 50 is the total in that game. But the Packers, I thought, even though it looked like they were running out the clock on their own, being down to Buffalo, their run game is pretty legit. That's something they could ride. Seattle being an underdog. You talked about Geno a bit. This look ahead number was at 3.5. Now it's at 1.5. So maybe the number's not quite there, but it's against Cliff Kingsbury at home. He hasn't been all that good there. What else is jumping out to you?
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm going to keep riding the Seahawks. Absolutely. Okay. I just don't know why the Cardinals get any are getting any respect at all. I mean, like everything the Cardinals do just seems to be like okay, but not good enough. Like Kyler Murray just makes this team look respectable. And now DeAndre Hopkins helps too, but like everything else about this team stinks. I mean, they got a few lucky turnovers a couple weeks ago. And, like Minnesota didn't really do themselves any favors by playing well. I think the Seahawks may even be better than Minnesota here. So on the road, the way Geno Smith is looking, I don't know why you'd get off the Seahawks here. I don't even care. Like this line would have to get to where the Seahawks are like, -1. Like this line would have to flip for me to really start thinking about getting off them or something like that. I think it's a good.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, don't you think DeAndre Hopkins looks around a little bit now and thinks this is kind of like what it was in Houston, except like a good mobile quarterback. Yeah. My coach is kind of like, I don't know if Bill O'Brien, like some head scratching stuff.
Whenever you have a good quarterback, like there's always hope. Like that's kind of why the Rams won last year. Like they got a good quarterback, right?
Yep.
So there's always hope. But the other thing is like I'm just not even that sure how good Kyler Murray is. I mean, he's okay, but like like the downfield passes, it's like his yards per attempt aren't that big. I mean, there's concerns about Murray. I've always had a little bit of concerns. Like he makes up for it because of what he can do with his legs. Obviously, he's a good quarterback, but I don't know. Like I'm not putting him in the Lamar category personally. So I just like the way Geno Smith's looked. I think Seattle keeps rolling there. Almost wonder if this is the spot to get off Atlanta, but I'm just going to leave that game for now. I do think the Packers. I expect this line to grow. They're probably going to be a public bet, but like the Lions may not win a game for the rest of the year. Honestly, man, like this team is not good. Offensively, they kind of hung around the first couple games. I think they caught some teams off guard. Jared Goff is just a very limited quarterback. Their defense is absolutely terrible.
They just fired their secondaries coach today.
Yeah, no shock there. Their defense is horrible, man. Like it's beyond anything. So I think the Packers are going to be able to run the ball. I think they're going to be able to do pretty much whatever they want. This is a good spot for Romeo Doubs to get some confidence going, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to put up like 4 scores and Green Bay is just going to win this game handily. I'm surprised to see this line open at 3, to be honest. Like I think that I don't even like, what was the look ahead line in this?
I'll look it up right now. That just moved. That was at -115. Now it's at -110 both ways. So that was interesting.
I don't know who's jumping in the lines.
That always excites me when we're talking about a game, and as we're talking about it, it moves. Like that makes me feel cool.
I mean, people are fading us if that's the case.
Well, exactly. Yeah. You're right. Exactly right. Even that sometimes being the case, I think it's interesting. Let's see. Green Bay. Oh, crap. I see. This is always what happens is you try.
It's probably like 7 or 7.5.
Probably. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Here we go. Right here. Boom. 5. Open it. Green Bay -5.
Oh, it was okay. So it wasn't that big. Yeah. I mean, again, like the Lions just seem to be getting respect for like a little bit of respect when I just don't think they should be getting any right now. So that's just my take on them. And then, you've got a couple of games. Like I'm interested to see where the money's going to go on the Vikings Commanders. I'd probably be interested in jumping on the Commanders if the Vikings are really going to get bet up. Commanders at home, their D line's been playing better. Their secondary has actually been a lot better. I like Taylor Heineke. I discounted the Commanders a little bit last week too. But I would not be hesitant to jump on them if the money is going to start flowing in on the Vikings. So that's another spot I'm going to be looking at. Not sure about that Chargers Falcons game yet. I'm tempted to go back on Atlanta, but I don't know. I'm a little hesitant with the Chargers coming off a bye. I don't want anything to do with Jags or Raiders. I'm probably going to get on Tampa here as well.
Oh, really? Jeez.
Yeah.
Edlow already took him too, and it's like, whoa.
Who did? Sorry?
Edlow's on Tampa.
Yeah. Yep. The Rams are not good. I think
here's Tampa.
I know, but I think there's more concerns with the Rams. Like, I know that the Bucs O-line is going to get better at some point.
Yep.
I don't know if the Rams are going to get any better. I think Matthew Stafford is still dealing with something. Cooper Kupp is now banged up. I think that the Bucs are going to be able to pass the ball against the secondary, and I think it's going to be a tough one. I think the Bucs. I think both these teams are struggling. I think that the Rams are are more hurt. I think that the Buccaneers could have won a couple games. They have issues to figure out, but I think that the Bucs issues are fixable. I don't think that the Rams are going anywhere this year, personally, because I don't think Stafford's getting healthy enough. And I think their defense has legit holes that just can't be fixed. I think Jalen Ramsey isn't as good anymore, and they're not as good at stopping the run. And I think this team is just suffering a little bit from hangover and just not having depth. They relied on like 3-star players last year, and you know, one of them's banged up now. The other one's not playing good. And Ramsey, like, I think the Bucs win this game. Potentially big. The
reporting is Cooper Kupp has some tissue swelling, no structural damage, says Sean McVay. Anticipates him playing. This is interesting too. We talk about schedules. Their schedule, they've played 7 games this year. They're 3-4. They've only left California once on this schedule. They've played a ton of home games. They've already played 5 home games this year.
No.
Their schedule's kind of a gauntlet. They've got to go to Tampa, to New Orleans, to Kansas City, to Green Bay, to the Chargers, to the Seahawks.
And
that's not easy,
with this injury to Kupp. Like, I get it. It's just swelling, but like, is he really going to is the swelling done in like 4 days? I mean, it seems like a pretty serious injury for him just to be completely gone. He's not going to practice this week. There's no way. It feels like a very high risk of re-injury to me. And like, if Cooper Kupp is not full go in this game, no chance. I give him no chance. I think Cooper Kupp is just basically the Rams at this point. So, yeah, man, I'm hopping on Tampa as well.
Okay, before we go, Steve Buchanan just jumped on the old Twitter machine since he has to fill all the roles for Edlow since he's out. I just like saying that. Oh, and sorry, Dangerous Steve is what he's called now.
Right.
Phenomenal. Yeah, dressing up for a show. I've never seen that before. It's interesting. I texted him during the show yesterday. I popped it on. I saw that. I just said horrible, and he said it's better than you. So anyway,
hey, learn from the master.
Right. That's right. He said, "Okay, Cam." That's how he responded to me. He called me Cam Newton. Bengals -3, getting 76% of the bets now, 69% of the money. That's the latest from the DraftKings Sportsbook.
Yeah. So there's been some late money come in on the Browns. I get it. Normally I'd kind of be in on that spot too, but it's Joe Burrow. It's the Bengals. Going to ride with them here.
All right. Again, we are here every weekday, the Slate, after that 4 p.m. Madden Sims, in the 5 o'clock Eastern hour. We have the Sweat tomorrow at 11 a.m. We will have Adam Kaufman will be here tomorrow. Gary and Thorne will be here tomorrow. I don't know if you will be, Jeff.
I don't know either yet. No, I won't be. Actually, I don't do Tuesdays. Sorry.
Okay. Lamarca, I think.
Forgot what day it was.
Yeah. Hey, man, I've heard through the grapevine you've got some work to do with trick-or-treating. So
yes, very excited to get out there. Absolutely. Just trick the hell out of this Halloween. So
okay. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks to Eamon and Andrew, and we will see you again very soon here at DraftKings. Take care.